there are rumors that Gerasimov's days are numbered. Well, there's obviously a fear of the Chinese invasion in Russian minds continuously. You need to go deeper into this kind of Z blogosphere to see his continuous kind of worry about their partner in the East. What I think is much more intriguing is this dependence, obviously, on Chinese on the European market, and especially the Belt and Road the initiative and the trade links that go through Eurasia, through Belarus, right, and to Poland, to bring those goods by trains. And as you have mentioned, Philip, during the current exercises on the Russian-Belarusian border, Poland blocked, well, they closed down the border itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was on purpose or they didn't think about the actual the trains coming up from China. But effectively, you have a massive a number of rail depots, extremely important for those peripheral regions on the Polish-Belarusian border, which have the direct rail links with the Russian trucks up to there, and then they're changing taking the goods to the European trains and moving them further to Europe, and that's been actually one of the biggest freight and cargo port for Chinese, and I think maybe that intriguing decision by the Polish government will actually stress that there is a interdependence has two sides, and if you want to bring the bulk of goods by train through Eurasia to Europe, then obviously you have to think about whether those borders will be open. And I think the Polish decision is quite an intriguing one in this case.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the Zapad 25 exercises, and they're going on this year, but with a much smaller Russian participation in them. However, it seems as if they're exercising their strategic forces, they're exercising nuclear forces, they're showing capacity in Kaliningrad with missiles being deployed there and firing hypersonic missiles out at sea at sea targets. Do you think Putin is feeling emboldened after his visit to visit to Alaska and then his visit to China? And he feels as if he's back on the international stage, and therefore a lot of what he's demonstrating in Zapad 25 with Lukashenko of Belarus is around trying to say to the wider international community, Russia is still here. We're still an important global player. Watch us whilst we're fighting a war in Ukraine. We can still do all of this. Do you think that's what his motivation is behind it?
Well, undoubtedly, it's been a diplomatic success for him to be red carpeted in Alaska and then again sitting next to Xi Jinping in Beijing. It's hard to deny that he's not been isolated, and he's got a lot of friends or accomplices across the world, and probably that also plays up to his ego and perhaps emboldens him. That's for sure. A lot of people say, "Oh, you've seen he was wearing military fatigues as well. Never happened before."
Oh, I've seen him do that before.
So a more interesting, intriguing thing that the head of the Russian General Chief of Staff, General Gerasimov, wasn't there in these exercises, which is always there because I remember the photographs of Shoigu, Gerasimov, Putin last time around, and Medvedev before them. There are rumors that Gerasimov's days are numbered, and perhaps he will be dismissed and replaced by another more brutal Russian general.
I think we've had rumors of Gerasimov's demise for the last 1,303 days because he doesn't seem to have done very well in his special military operation, but he seems to be a survivor.
Yeah. So we should not exaggerate the rumors. Although of course the most recent failure of the summer offensive probably cannot go unnoticed, given that we've noticed this as well, and I'm sure Putin also remembers that Gerasimov promised Zaporizhia and Kherson and Odessa and Donetsk and all the way to Kharkiv, and we are still midway to Kupiansk, which wasn't even in the plan. So it will be a big disaster for Ukraine if General Gerasimov is dismissed. Yes, because I think he's he's a good general for Ukraine.
He's a very good general for Ukraine. Yes, and it was interesting that Shoigu got moved on, but I've just mind dumped the general that um,
Sorovikin. Sorovikin.
Surovikin, yes, it was a good day for Ukraine when General Surovikin was removed from post, because although he was an Air Force general, he seemed very competent in land operations.
Yeah, especially withdrawing from Kherson. That was a clever.
Exactly.
And
But whilst all this is going on, and Donald Trump is in the UK, President Zelensky sent a very clear message that he needed Donald Trump to make some bold decisions about what he was going to do with Russia. Do you think we're going to see anything out of Donald Trump? Has he written off his involvement in trying to solve the conflict? Is he going to walk away?
I feel like we're not going to see any kind of serious action from the current U.S. administration, because effectively they've developed a pretense excuse, right? That unless you stop buying everything from Russia and unless you impose 100% tariffs on all Chinese goods, then maybe we'll do something, which I think is quite a extraordinary, difficult thing to do for all NATO members and EU members as well. So Turkey is a NATO member. It's got is a hub for Russian oil and gas. And a lot of the President Erdogan economic success is based on that cheap Russian oil and gas. So cutting off effectively your mainstream of income just because you want to finish the war in Ukraine, I think for the Turkish elites that would be a step too far. Not to mention obviously Hungary and Slovakia. Hungary has increased its dependence on Russian oil to 86%, although they were supposed to be using these 1,300 days, 1,303 days to cut their dependence on Russian oil. They've increased it to 86%. Slovakia is still 100% Russian oil.
Yeah.
Despite 4 years of the war. So I think that's I think it's highly unlikely that something will happen from Washington because now they have this excuse and they will batter the Europeans, say, "Oh, it's all your fault. You don't want to actually put, you have no skin in the game. You need to kind of do something."
Yeah, but do you think that because this has been going on for so long now, that Ukraine's dependence on American support, provided it isn't cut away completely, and provided you don't get the cut in intelligence support and logistic support supplied through European NATO nations and elsewhere, if what America's not doing in the minute, it actually doesn't matter. Ukraine is getting itself into a position where it can continue the fight without America's direct involvement.
Well, you just heard about the first or the second of this new scheme of $500 million delivery of weapons from the US to Ukraine paid by Europeans.
Yeah.
So the Pearl scheme, Priority Ukraine Requirements List, in which Ukraine requires weapons and then Europeans pay for it and Americans deliver them, which is a new Trump initiative, so to speak. And either the first or the second delivery has been now approved. So that's a massive plus. In the opinion poll, there was a question whether Ukrainians can fight without Americans, but with European support, and I think 76% said they could, which is slightly dropped from 82% half a year ago, but still 76% I think is a good enough number for me. So if Europeans continue to pay and help to deliver the Pearl scheme weapons, that will be great. We also hear that finally the Commission is moving further to discuss the Russian assets being frozen in Brussels, about 200 billion euro worth of money, and they are now developing some new innovative techniques of how they can appropriate those assets to give it to Ukraine. So presumably thinking that anything can happen in Washington. So this is probably a plan B, but it's good that they have managed to go sort of further step ahead with that plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, a day 1,303, we are on plan B. I'd expected us to be further down the alphabet in that, but we've got lots more alphabet to go over. I think what's going to be months, if not, and I hope not years. But Vlad, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today on Times Radio Frontline.